Hi, and welcome to BMIT's series on the Digital Operational Resilience Act, or as better known in the industry, DORA. If you work in the financial services sector, undoubtedly you have heard of DORA, which comes into force next year. This piece of legislation targets organizations in the financial sector. However, its principles of IT governance, risk management, cybersecurity, resilience building are crucial for every business in today's digital age. One of DORA's primary requirements, and extremely important for any company, is resilience testing. And to understand a little bit more what resilience testing means, but also what it comprises and how businesses should go about testing their infrastructure and their systems, I have with me today Galea, BMIT's product manager, and Christian Bajada, head of information security at BMIT. First of all, thank you both for joining me today. Christian, a very open-ended question. What is resilience testing and why is it so important?
Resilience testing is about evaluating a system and to see how it copes under adverse conditions. So this type of testing, it will enable attacks to be simulated and provide a realistic view of which security flaws are you susceptible to and how these might be exploited.
So what we're saying here is really we can go through IT governance, we can go through IT risk management, create policies, set up the necessary technologies, but all that is useless unless we can prove that if something happens, whatever you've done is actually going to work?
I would say that this is part of, and it goes hand in hand with risk identification. So when you are doing these type of tests, you are doing two things. First of all, you are checking whether your existing security controls are in order. So you might have patching that perhaps is not working properly. You might have code reviews that perhaps are not working properly, and you are introducing bugs and exploits in your system. But also, through this exercise, you would be identifying new risks, because one of the things that we should also be doing is constantly assessing for new threats. And we talk about the new developments in attacks, such as exploiting multi-factor authentication mechanisms and so on. And if you are not able to hone in on these new developments, this simulated testing will be your lifeline in identifying these new risks and hopefully closing any gaps that you have before you are attacked.
One of the themes that we've discussed in previous videos as well is the capabilities of organizations to actually carry out this type of testing. Obviously, not every organization has the people, the understanding or the knowledge to be able to carry out these. So, Ivan, we had also mentioned the role of the MSP in this case. So the question is open to both of you, really. How does an organization go about establishing a resilience testing strategy? And in the absence of people within the organization, how can they achieve it? Ivan, do you want to start?
Yeah, I think it always starts, and exactly how DORA sort of depicts this is identifying risks. Yeah, having that IT risk management framework, and from those risks, then you're gonna do business impact analysis. Yeah, and once you do that business impact analysis, you're gonna have a better understanding of the impact that particular risk is gonna have on your organization. You're going to classify it, and then you're going to start preparing for it. So there's the preparation element of within that strategy, right? You're going to prepare by setting out objectives, what you want to achieve in this test, and you take it forward from there. I mean, again, it sort of have to be based on that particular risk or scenario. So you start to build these scenarios. You build the most critical scenarios, so to speak, and then you test. You test using specific techniques, maybe, or specific tools, people, skills, to identify your vulnerabilities, to identify gaps. And like Chris mentioned, new IT risks. Eventually, all those vulnerabilities become new IT risks.
Supporting what Ivan just said, in the DORA regulation itself, so Article 24, Section 3, clearly it states that the tests themselves, they are not isolated elements, but these must form part of a sound and comprehensive digital operation and resilience program. And eventually, it also states that this testing program must include a range of assessments, tests, methodologies, practices, and tools, and adopt a risk-based approach, taking into account your evolving IT landscape and the rest of the text. And basically, it's this resilience testing strategy. This must encompass, again, quoting from the law, all ICT and information assets, software, hardware, or servers, but also data, and all the physical components and infrastructures relevant to asset protection. So yes, it's all software assets and data that are being targeted here.
So let's say an organization has a resilience testing strategy in place. It has its methodologies. How often should an organization be carrying out resilience testing? Because the impression DORA gives is you do it once a year, it's fine, tick a box, and you're done. But if we're going to look at resilience testing as part of a business continuity plan, there is more to a one-yearly testing regime. So should it be one yearly, or should businesses be looking at more regular testing?
You are correct in saying that basically DORA, it states that financial entities shall ensure at least yearly to conduct these tests.
It's always minimum, right? The minimum is always going to be minimum. But I believe it really depends on the probability of that risk happening and how critical it is to your entity, right? To your organization.
And how much you can pay as well.
How much you can pay, and also, to be honest, some of the tests that are actually included in the DORA regulation itself, they cannot be carried out like once yearly. The very nature of them doesn't make sense. So when you're talking about, say, source code reviews, I mean, good luck doing a yearly source code review of all the code that was written, and it's also a bad metric. I mean, these kind of checks would be point-in-time checks, and the lack of continuity, it really does not apply. So,
but are there tools that can assist in doing so? I mean, maybe not a full-on source code review, having had the human-led sort of testing, but I'm talking about maybe some tools that could assist during the generation or the build of that source code.
If we are talking about source code only, there are definitely tools like automated source code reviews that they can check code. Obviously, it would be limited to what is inbuilt in the tool, but believe me, they are very, very, very smart. And I would dare say that they are better than what a tired senior developer reviewing the code would actually check. And you can also put in like quality gates, where if the tool determines that this is high vulnerability, you can set the gate to say high vulnerabilities and above, high and critical, no code can get committed. So perhaps you can commit something low and perhaps something with a medium vulnerability and provide a justification, or you can set the bar even less if you want. But obviously, when you set the bar less, then it will be more and more difficult for some code to be committed, because these tools are very strict.
I think also you mentioned secure code. We're looking at organizations that probably are creating their own code, creating their own software products for internal use within the organization. But if we had to take smaller organizations, just looking at vulnerability management on its own, it is not something you can actually do once a year. I mean, it's like saying, oh, I'm going to check if all my PCs on the network have any vulnerabilities, and I do it at the beginning of the year. The chances are by that time you probably have had enough attacks to put you out of business. So I think it depends also on the size of the organization. The testing requirements vary. DORA does apply the principle of proportionality, but it still requires you to have an ICT framework, which means you cannot not have any form of resilience testing. So how should an organization strive to achieve a balance that is effective but also takes into account their size and capabilities? So it's challenging.
I would kind of wind back to the earlier point of our conversation where Ivan mentioned the identification of the assets. So what we really have to identify are what are we trying to protect, what are our critical assets, which business process we cannot afford to have a fault in. Maybe it's payment, something fraudulent coming in. That could be like anything affecting the core of your finance. And you can kind of start structuring your tests according to, let's say, likelihood. What is the likelihood that an external attack comes in? So if the likelihood is higher than something internal going awry, then at least you know that for your external attack surface, you need to run these checks and more regularly. That would be your higher priority. And as time goes by, you will tackle the rest. But at least you can tackle the places where the gold is first. Secondly, honestly, some of the security controls, such as, for instance, checking your logs on a daily basis, and many other checks like access control reviews, etc. These get tedious, and organizations often have inefficient ways of doing them. In that case, the tedious ones, the ones that you deem that are good and important for the organization, but you cannot do them, I would strongly suggest that these are outsourced.
Okay. What about automation? For example, we've heard with Copilot, for example, and security in Microsoft, automating the log analysis. It just saves so much time. And if an organization may not have the people to do all the analysis, the triaging, AI, is that something that could possibly be a boost for resilience testing?
I think for events that happen that are of the more standard nature, we're talking about known operating systems, Microsoft, the mainstream Linux versions, etc., events that are being generated by these stock systems. I think that AI will definitely help there. However, when it comes for your custom applications, the AI, it definitely does not know about it.
Or legacy systems.
Legacy custom systems.
Yeah.
If there are custom systems, the AI it won't know about them. I am not sure how fast and effective it is also able to learn and differentiate whether these log entries that are viewing in the system, that are being generated by the system, whether these are the valid, legitimate entries or constitute an attack. So that is where I have my reservations. If you manage to make it learn somehow, then by all means.
One aspect of DORA is resilience building. How relevant is resilience testing for an organization looking long-term towards resilience building, but also towards business continuity? So how does resilience testing help a business with its business continuity in the event that there is a disruption to operations?
Basically, as I see it, business continuity, it equals resilience. The very fact that you are able to weather the storm, that's which is business continuity, that achieves resilience in itself. And basically, it's in DORA there is definitely an article that tackles spot on business continuity. We have another article that tackles directly backups, for instance. So these aspects they need to be there. Basically,
I think in general, resilience testing is going to, provide the validation of your plans. So you have initially DORA is asking for you to have the IT governance framework in place, IT risk management framework in place, and therefore you're going to have the policies, the plans, everything there. And then you come to the point of you need to test these plans, these processes, etc. And this is where I believe resilience testing, when you do simulations, whether it's partial or full-on simulation, you're going to validate those plans. You're going to identify maybe gaps and vulnerabilities, as we already already spoke about, right? And most importantly, is going to enhance the response time for those issues and improve on the business continuity. Because what is the objective? Is the RTO. Yeah, you need to establish an RTO. Once you establish the RTO, that is your objective, that you recover within that time. And therefore with resilience testing, that, you can achieve that or probably enhance on that recovery time. So your business continuity posture is much more, it's better, right?
We've been talking DORA. Obviously, DORA is the important discussion. However, what we've been talking about applies to any business. Any business should be thinking resilience testing, should be thinking business continuity. How much is DORA helping to convince organizations outside of the financial services sector to rethink their approach to IT management, to risk management, to governance? So is DORA actually contributing in a more stronger manner to better IT overall?
To be honest, all that is specified in DORA has been defined as a best security practice and best industry practice for a long time. It's the regulation itself has been created because it has been deemed that the financial entities who can have a global impact or a significant impact to the country's finances, they need to take better steps which are mandated on them in order to achieve this resilience and better protection, basically. But this has been there for a long time, and really and truly, they are known, so it is up to the organization.
They're just enforcing it. That's all. As in, it used, most of the big organization already had some IT governance, IT risk management framework. It's just they are putting the rubber stamp on it and then say all entities, all financial entities, again, depending on the proportionality, but need to have these in place. Correct?
And also, I mean, when organization deals with each other, they are seeking services of another. We often see that there is some kind of vendor assessment that is done where you get asked for your ISO certifications, your SOC 2 reports, and this and that, which basically entails that, hey, if you are not building, if you are not doing these types of risk management, that is kind of what DORA is about, your business will be left behind because it doesn't show that commitment to information security.
That's interesting, and certainly we mentioned cybersecurity frameworks. That will be a topic for another video. I'd like to thank you both, Ivan, Christian. Very informative, very, very interesting. Thank you.